All right, let's move on to China. Just one moment. I kind of strayed a little bit here. Okay, so China, I worked there, I think it was 2010 to 2011, if I'm not mistaken. I started very late. I think I started in November 2010 and I finished in May or something of 2011. Yeah. So obviously, like I said, after Korea, the later places, I didn't last 1 year. So China. Uh, for me, the application process was pretty straightforward. I don't remember which site I use now. It was a long time ago. But yeah, it's a job post. You see something you like, you send them an email, and then if they like you and your CV, they will contact you. So that was the case. I got contacted by a school in where was it? In Hangzhou, which is near Shanghai. Well, it's still like maybe 5 hours by road, but it's relatively close to Shanghai. All right. So yeah, the interview process was pretty straightforward. Just a few questions, nothing too complicated. Obviously, we talked about things like salary, et cetera, apartment. That was mostly questions coming from me, obviously. Everything sounded okay. So I went there, and yeah, the first challenge was so yeah, I came there. They met me at the airport, which was that's pretty cool. Let's be honest there. I mean, come on. In Seoul, it didn't happen. Nobody met me at the airport. I believe I was just told to go to a certain place when I got there. But yeah, that's cool. So I go there and I met with pretty young Chinese women. Some of them very good looking, I have to say, and that's cool. They took care of everything. I didn't actually ask for it, but they took my luggage. They started to pull it around, and I'm like, okay, you need to actually do that. I mean, I have hands, I have arms. I can do it, but they took care of it. All right, great. Then, yeah, I actually I this was quite interesting. For some reason, I don't know why. Uh, I went to Shanghai Airport. Now, Hangzhou has an airport, but for some reason, they didn't tell me that I could fly to Hangzhou. I don't know why. Hangzhou is an international airport, so I don't see the issue there. It made a bit more work for them because obviously they had to travel to Shanghai, they had to get me there, they had to drive me back to Hangzhou. Anyway, it's a bit more extra work. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, got there. The apartment. So the apartment was you get the first room, which had a kitchen in a corner, but it's mostly an empty room. I guess you could put a table there and have eat there, but again, I'm kind of living alone, so it's kind of ghetto style. I just take it into my living room and eat there while watching something, usually on my computer or whatnot. And yeah, so that's the first room. Then you had the bathroom, which was like okay, but the bath itself was a bit leaky, I would say. Not from underneath, but from the like there is a door that you close the shower with, and I think there was a certain part of it which unfortunately didn't close all the way. So yeah, every time after I take a shower, there is a certain pool of water outside of the shower, which was a bit annoying. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, look, that's what we say. It's China. There are things like that there. It's made in China, right? After that, you get the sliding door. You open that. You get your bedroom. The bedroom was mostly occupied by the bed, I have to say, which was a big bed. Actually, I think it was like a. It was probably like a queen size or something. Again, I don't need that. I'm just by myself. But planning for the future, sure, why not? And then after that, you get the kind of a balcony area, which is an enclosed balcony area. And that one had a washing machine there in the corner. So again, everything is furnished. They pay for that. You don't need to spend a dime on it. You obviously need to pay for your utilities and food and transportation. Not in that case because I could just walk to my school. It took maybe, if I walk quickly, maybe 15 minutes. If I take my time, 20 minutes. But that's it's not much. It's good exercise as well. The school itself was a mixture of kids and adults, mostly kids though. So again, for me, I'm not a big fan of it. The level, I would say, in Korea, the level was a bit higher, definitely. In China, was lower. Uh, but yeah, the thing about China in that school though is that I was not really given a lot of teaching materials. They had some textbooks here and there, but there were some classes that basically didn't have any textbook whatsoever. What does that mean? That means that you have to do that work. Now, that's fine if you've done it before. You know where to go and what to do, etc. You know how to put together textbooks, etc. Okay, I didn't have that experience at all. So, what I did was, yeah, I started to go online and I started to look for kind of, games for kids, something that could be educational but fun at the same time, something that would I was looking for something that would kill some time, to be honest, because look, you I know even from my experience in high school, etc., if you get a 45-minute class, maybe you pay attention to like half of it at best. After that, you just wish you just wish it's over, right? So it's the same here. You have a certain time where they pay attention to you, and you can teach them a few things here and there. After that, everybody just wants to go home, including myself, to be honest. So then you give them activities. I don't remember exactly which ones I gave them, but one I gave them was a word scramble. So it's this kind of paper with a box, lots of letters in there, and they have to find certain words in there. Now the words are actually written at the bottom, but they have to find them in the box. And look, this is bullshit to be honest with you. But again, I was just trying to kill time because yeah, just something to do. And obviously, these words, um, you can still you can still teach those words at the end of the day. Like look, especially young kids who don't know a lot of English, they're not gonna they're not gonna be able to learn a lot every lesson. It has to be step by step. So yeah, if you just give them like even if they just remember like 3 words or something, it's good enough. Can build on that next time. But that was interesting though. I definitely like they didn't tell me about that before I got there. But yeah, I had to make my own teaching material. So I was on the printer a lot. I was printing a lot of papers every day actually. Um, the other curious thing that happened there is, so I get to China. The Chinese gave me a visa, basically a tourist visa. I think it was also for 1 month. To get the job though, okay, you need to get a work permit basically. To get the work permit, you need certain things like a health check, etc. Now, for some reason, I was sent to Hong Kong because I was told that the health check has to be done outside of China for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why any of that makes any sense, to be honest with you. It's all bureaucracy as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, you have to go outside of China to get your health check. So they sent me to Hong Kong, and they booked a hotel for me. So again, they paid for that, but it was only for one day. And I was told that, I get there in the evening, I spend the night at the hotel, and then the next day I basically uh, go get my health check, and I get my work permit from the Chinese embassy in Hong Kong. Okay, right away, I knew that that's impossible. In one day, no way, no way that can happen in one day. In maybe 1 week, maybe, but not in one day. So that's exactly what happened there. I go there, I get to the thing, to the embassy on the next day, and they tell me that, so the school gave me some documents, right? They gave me some proofs that I'm going to be working there, etc., etc. But they forgot one paper. Now, obviously, it's kind of their fault because they should have done their research, right? It's not my fault for sure, for sure. But I can't blame them too much because maybe they didn't do that process before and maybe they didn't know, right? It's possible. So they forgot to give me one paper, and the Chinese, embassy staff tells me, okay, we can't really do anything without that paper. All right, but I don't have anywhere to stay that day anymore. My hotel was only booked for one day. So now I'm in a panic again. I'm in a foreign place. Okay, it's true that at least in Hong Kong, many people speak English. That's good. But still, I'm in a completely foreign place. I don't know anything about Hong Kong. So I went back. I'm not sure exactly how I did it, but I looked around and I found this place. I forgot the name of it, but it's something like the Chongqing Mansions or something like that. Fancy name, but trust me, it is very far from being a mansion, okay? It's basically this big building with many tiny rooms, and it's not a hotel, okay? It's basically like, yeah, it's just an accommodation hall. It's probably like a 1-star rating. So it's really, really low. There's like cockroaches there, etc., etc. So yeah, definitely not a place you want to stay in for a long time. But again, I had no choice. I had not a lot of money on me. So again, go there. Luckily, I was able to find a room. Uh, it had a toilet, a very tiny one, but it didn't have a shower. The shower was kind of a shared area, and do you really want to go there? Not really, I guess. I decided to kind of tough it out for a few days and see how it goes. And then, yeah, I got my health check. When I got my health check, I had to see a doctor, and so he comes in, and he asks me, "Hey, like, why, what's up?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm basically only here to get my, work permit to work in China." And he's like, "Oh, okay." He asked me a few questions like, "Do you have tuberculosis?" No. "Do you have this?" No. "Do you have this?" No. That was it. Just a few questions. Everything is fine. Here's your documentation. You can go to the embassy and get your paper without a problem. And I did. So that was all sorted. But again, look, I'm just telling you the story because just bear that in mind. It's not just like you go to some place and the week after you can start working there and everything becomes in order. It's not quite like that, okay? There's a bit more involved, and just be careful of stories like mine. All right. So, um, in China, my salary at the time was, I'm not exactly sure because it's been a while ago and I was not able to retrieve that information. I believe it was around 7,000 yuan, which is local currency there. Now, at the time, this translated to about $1,000 US, which is pretty good actually in China. Trust me, salaries in China are not that high. Of course, if you're like a huge businessman, sure, but if you're at the bottom, and teachers are at the bottom usually, you're not going to make a lot of money. But hey, 7,000 in China is good money. It's good money. Unfortunately, after you pay your bills and you buy your food and etc., maybe you need clothes as well. It becomes more kind of like a 500 per month you're gonna save, and that's still okay in China. But if your plan is eventually to go back to the States, for example, if you're saving just 500 a month, that's not a lot of money. And yeah, so definitely salary, it depends where you go. Just be careful because there are certain like universities in China and they're, hiring English teachers and they pay much, much less. It could be like 4,000 or 5,000 yuan per month. So, yeah, you basically go. I think if you go to China, it's mostly to get experience and not so much to make money. I think that's the mentality you have to go there with. Anyway, from that salary, you can save about half of it, more or less, probably more, a little bit more even. And yeah, the apartment is paid for you. Overall, they will take care of you. I didn't have any problems with my coworkers. We didn't really kind of interact a lot, to be honest with you. But yeah, for what it's worth, it was okay. But again, another interesting thing is that in Korea, obviously, full-time work means, 40 hours per week. You have to be at work. But in China, it's not like that. So when I worked there, and they told me actually when I was going there, they told me I was going to work full time. So in my mind, immediately, I thought, oh, well, that's going to be your standard 40 hours then again. But it wasn't. It wasn't. I think when I started, it was more kind of like 18 hours per week, maybe, okay. By the end, it was like 20 hours per week, not 40, okay? And that's a huge, huge difference. Trust me. Trust me, it makes a huge difference. The other cool thing is, compared to Korea and Japan, where you have to be at the workplace, like you have to physically be there, because it shows your loyalty to the company and all that bullshit, etc. But not in China. Of course, it depends on the company, sure. But in my school, basically, I was told, as long as you do the job, we don't really care how you do that. So, for example, if you don't need prep time, some teachers need a lot of prep time. I don't need too much prep time. So, yeah, if you don't need prep time, you can just show up 10 minutes before class. Obviously, you don't want to show up when they start. Okay, anyway. Yeah, you can just show up 10 minutes before class, and you go to the class, and you do the class, and that's fine. After class, you don't need to stay in the office. You don't need to do any overtime after office paperwork or any other nonsense. You can just pack up and go. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't spend a minute extra in that place. I just went home or went shopping sometimes or whatever. But definitely I did not spend time at work more than required. Just consider that, okay? Because again, yeah, you're making less money, sure, but you're also working less time. So, if you're kind of more into social life and you want to be more interacting with people, maybe that job is great for you because you have a lot more extra time to do all of that. All right, and so finally, I move on to the last place, and that's Japan.